Welcome, everybody. We are back with yet another episode of Cam's Corner, the podcast. And once again, I just have to start out by saying that I appreciate anyone that is partaking and listening, even if it's for the first 5 minutes or if it's for half of the podcast, and definitely for the ones that are watching or listening for the entire duration of the podcast. I really much appreciate it. And I think I think it's always funny every episode I go into, I'm probably have the mentality that like, oh, this is going to be a good one. And I don't want to sound like a broken record or anything, but I think overall just in approaching every single project that I do, it's gonna be about I'm feeling more comfortable, growth is coming, whatever the case is. It's more exciting. So of course, every single week I'm gonna feel like we got a good one for you. But I definitely think this should be a really good one as well. Once again, most of my viewers probably know what it is by the title, and for those that do not, we're going to be talking about ignorance today. Ignorance is something that is sweeping the nation faster than COVID, faster than the common cold, the flu, whatever it is that you can think of. Ignorance is probably the number one killer in humanity, in my opinion, hands down. But obviously, there's no tea today. Yeah, I know. I'm horrible, right? I'm so horrible. I want to incorporate tea, but here I am without tea. So I promise I'll have some tea on the next episode, and we'll get into that. I'm feeling the effects of not having tea, by the way, right now. But I do have water with me, which water is we need water. I mean, over half of our bodies is water. So. But once again, here we are. And we are going to start off with the song of the day, which is going to be, wow, I'm at a very awkward angle to be turning this volume down. Song of the day is going to be Not Going Back by none other than Childish Gambino. One of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite artists. I spoke about, I believe it was in like the first episode when I shout out the song at the end, that the last song that I'm listening to. I think it was like a Tory Lanez song, and I spoke highly of the artist of Tory Lanez. Childish Gambino though is probably he probably is one of my favorite people within the entire industry. And obviously he has music, he has TV, he has writing, he has directing, he has acting. Uh, he is very, very multi-talented and multi-faceted in the industry overall. And for the longest, I felt like he kind of had an agenda as he was growing as like a as an actor and as a writer. And then kind of when his music career took off and he got more money, he was able to finance the things that he wanted to do. Um, we quickly saw the type of mentality that he's always had, and I'm not saying that for a bad reasons. I'm actually saying it for really good reasons, especially it's still being Black History Month. He was very adamant on wanting to work with certain people in the industry and giving certain people a platform to show off their greatness. Just because, you know, obviously, not that I can speak 100% on this because I don't know, but Hollywood has always been one color. Let's be honest now. We're not going to sit here and act like it's even in today's world, like people just kind of want to put a certain like, oh, we have a black person here, we're representing the Asian community here, we're representing the the Hmong community here, we're representing like like the regions of like Hawaii over here. It's like you're just trying to represent because you know the day and the age that we live in. But overall, Hollywood has always been one color. And to kind of see when Donald was able to get his fame and get more money, he was able to fund things that were very, very, very straightforward. Just black writers' room, like black castings and um, uh, production, set crews. So it's just kind of it's amazing to see that you know he did that for the culture and just like I said, amazing artist, amazing musician, like singer, rapper, songwriter. Um, I hope one day I could definitely sit at the same table as him, and you know, if it's have a conversation, if it's be collaborative on something, either way it goes, just sitting down in a room with someone that you know has that someone that has you know came from nothing to succeed. There's so much knowledge in that. So I do think it would just be beneficial even if it's just a 5 minute conversation, you know. So definitely, if you don't know who Childish Gambino is, you definitely should check him out. He doesn't really make too much music now because he's so focused on like directing and writing and all this stuff. But because the internet, amazing album. Please check it out. And then also, um, oh goodness, I would say for me purposely, like this is not even like his newer stuff. Go back and listen to like Cul-de-sac. That's like one of his older like mixtapes. Just amazing. But like I said, we're gonna get into what today is about, and today is about ignorance. Ignorance. And you know how we do. I go ahead and grab me a little Merriam Webster's dictionary definition. And the definition, I'm sorry if I'm like, you know, sniffling or rubbing my nose. It's just leaking. I don't know why. I don't know why. But ignorance definition: the state or fact of being ignorant, which is lack of knowledge, education, or awareness. And that is the only definition on here, which is, once again, just like last week's episode of Perseverance, you only need one definition. There's no need for multiple takes on what this word is because, in a nutshell, how that just described it, lack of knowledge, you know? Um, how do I describe ignorance? And this is not because my vocabulary is, you know, is is it massive or something like that. Like this is just me being real. Like I said, these are my journal thoughts. Ignorance to me, being stupid, being stupid, being dumb, not not inviting in knowledge into your mind. Like it's really as simple as that. Being stupid. I think that I think I think everyone has witnessed what ignorance has done. I'm not really here to. I didn't really want to discuss what I feel ignorance has done to the world because we know what it's done. We've seen it, but it's more so just what we've internalized about ignorance, and I I don't want to. I don't want to like speak so much negativity of like, social media because social media has its positives. But, I think obviously with the explosion of social media and just the internet in general, I think ignorance has spread to places that we wouldn't even expect it to be dealing with ignorance. What I mean by that is ignorance has always been around. I think ignorance was more prevalent back then. Like the idea that you had groups of people, you had hierarchy systems. Like, just think about this. They had hierarchy systems of, kings and queens, royalty, and then you had, like your knights. And I don't even think it was like knights and stuff. I kind of feel like it was like the court, like the and don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily have this knowledge like readily available because it was a long time at school studying this stuff. But you had your like your courtship, and then I think you had like knights and stuff like that, which you view as like as your military and stuff like that. Like court like gestures and stuff like that, and then you start to have like peasants that fall like at the low end of all that. But just thinking about that, that's ignorant. You're gonna Anyone can have a baby, any combination of, and we're not look we're not, once again, this episode is ignorance. Put that ignorance aside for people who are like, oh no, like 2 men and 2 women can't have a kid. Put all that aside, because listen to me. The idea that anyone can have a kid, any man or woman can procreate and have a kid, and for you to then put them into a group based on who their mother and father is, without ever realizing that this child can be taught whatever you want to teach it. Now, as time went on, obviously, we're here in that day and age. Like, just because someone's born like underprivileged and poor doesn't mean that one day they can be multimillionaire, multi-billionaire. We live in those times now. The Obviously there's still some obstacles that come with that, but overall we don't live in that time. But I want you to just think about like back then though, like how ignorant that really was. And people live by that daily. We don't live by that now. We have ignorance today, but if you just think about back then, how ignorant that actually was. And it's easy for us to be like, it's actually crazy that people used to live by like a hierarchy system. Like, like how did you like look at society back then and think that stuff was okay? But that's how they lived back then. But now, once again, though, you take into account that education and knowledge was something that wasn't as massively taught, to be honest. Not everyone had education. And back then, education, if anything, was just really history. There wasn't that much. And when I say history, I'm talking about like people are still like, oh, well, there were like painters, and there would be people that would be a part of like court systems, and what about like merchants? They had to know how to like do like simple math and all that stuff. But like realistically, no, it's just history. It's like what's already happened, and what can we teach people now, and how can we like make our society better? It's literally just history. I'm gonna teach you about this artist Michelangelo, who was a great artist, and someone else just decided, who was actually not a peasant, because peasants probably weren't the people that were sitting here painting masterful beauty pieces. And even if they were, they really weren't. No one really noticed it until like long after. But they didn't really have the knowledge. They didn't have the education back then. So like, and it's not like it's a pass for them, but overall, it's almost like, I get it. Your society was based off of what had been working for hundreds and hundreds of years. And with the Roman Empire, with the Egyptian Empire. You had Ming dynasties, and you had all of these systems that were created on hierarchy, you know, systems per se. And stuff like that worked. Some societies crumbled, or it was like a coup to take over more power, or to get corrupt figures out of power. Like, you always had that, and that's kind of just what it was back then. But you kind of see as time went on, like, that 1800s to 1900s, the idea of just kind of education and understanding that in order for us not to continue to keep going through these cycles of history, we probably need to actually use the tools available for us to become a better society. And obviously, that evolved. And I think for a while, the world was more focused on technological advances and the industrial eras, and things like that, and just expanding your country's economic status. I think those things were more of a focus, and I think it worked for the world in general. But then what happened was ignorance came back again, because as human beings, and I don't mean to say this for 100% of people, but excuse me when I say ignorance lives in every single person. Every single person has some type of ignorance within them. Why? Because once again, it's lack of knowledge, lack of education. There are things that every single person is ignorant to. Now, ignorance isn't, how we look at today, when we look at ignorance, is somebody not understanding. I was trying to pick like a topic. Oh, okay. So, and this is not me fighting for or against this. It's just I'm using this as an example. But like Black Lives Matter. A lot of people look at the people who say all lives matter are ignorant. It's like, dude, that it's so ignorant for you to say all lives matter. Like, this is about, I'm not speaking about me. I'm speaking about the people who, Black Lives Matter. Like, this is about us. Like, it's about our people getting the recognition that we're more than just the stigma that you put on us. Our lives have to matter just as much as any other life that you see walking on the street. And then obviously this is pointed toward the injustice of, that could be law enforcement, it could be the judicial system. So in that arena, so that's how most people look at ignorance. But ignorance can just simply be you just not knowing something. The point when you leave ignorance, and now how when I defined it, and I'm just like someone being stupid, when you get to that point, that's when you start to verbalize, and that's when you start to act on your ignorance now. Because like I said, I think that there is a huge difference between ignorance existing, but then when we actually see ignorance. Another example, and some people might be like, no, that's not being ignorant. So let me say it. So, for example, I used to be a person that, I'm going to just say that guy, because naturally a lot of guys feel that way. I used to be that guy that I would look at makeup, and I'm just like, dude, why are you putting on makeup? You don't need makeup. I know like what's a guy's favorite line or what's a girl's favorite line for guys to say. You look so much better without makeup. I love your natural beauty. You don't need makeup. Why do you waste all this time putting makeup on? Oh my goodness. I used to say like, those lines, here and there all the time. And not like lines, like, but I used to say those things and I would just be like, dude, I just don't get makeup. Like, I hate what it does. I hate how it just clouds, women's face and how it can turn something that is questionable into something that is like, oh my Lord, like you look like, a Michelangelo painting. You look beautiful. What this wasn't, or I would make jokes of like how, you can go out, you can go to a bar, you can go to a club, whatever the case is, and you can meet somebody and then next morning you wake up and you're like, who the hell are you? Because like, makeup has that ability to transform. Now, all of that I just said was ignorance. Why? Because I didn't know anything about makeup. I didn't understand makeup. And now what I mean by that I guess it would probably be more so for the men that are listening or watching to this, because I feel like most girls obviously feel the same about makeup. I know there's probably some females that don't, but overall I feel like all females already know this. But I took it a step further though. I didn't look at it as like, because I know a lot of women look at it as it's for them. It's for them to look at themselves in the mirror and just to feel beautiful. It's not for other people. I'm not trying to look good for nobody else. I just love looking good for me. And I know that's where probably most women lay. But for me, I took it a step further to gain more knowledge about it and to understand. And I have a different understanding. Now, this was me probably 6 years ago. So this was a long time ago. And me being an artist, it makes sense why I have this opinion now. How I came to understand it with my knowledge that I've gained is when you're doing makeup, it's just like someone who's doing art. We praise people who can take a blank canvas and make a mural or make a beautiful piece of art, make something just, crazy. You go to a fair and you see someone, doing something with, paint or chalk or clay or, spray paint, whatever the case is. And you're like, I can't believe you were able to do that. That's so beautiful. It's the same thing with makeup though. It's a blank canvas and the end result is, oh my God, that's beautiful. And then that is where the ignorance left, because I now had that knowledge and I understood what goes on with makeup. The same way that I have to sit here and make sure that my lighting is correct. Especially as a photographer, a videographer too, because videographer, it's like it's constant movement versus, photography is just one setup. But the same thing that I have to go through with this color science and the lighting and how stuff is staged and how a certain skin tone is going to look against a certain light and when it goes into my edits, what am I trying to look for? What am I trying to do? All of these things play a huge role. So that's the same thing when it comes to makeup. Skin tone, you need proper lighting. Because if you don't have proper light, if you're just doing your makeup in the dark, well, you're going to look a little wild when you get to the light. But all of these things matter. The contrasting, the different layers to allow makeup to set properly or to bring out, certain things about your eyes or to contour your face a certain way to bring certain so when people look at you, there's a certain way they're looking at your face. It's just, I think it is beautiful. I think that's truly beautiful. It's one thing to have an empty canvas. It's one thing to make a mural on the side of a building, but to take a face, canvases don't change. I don't care how big of a mural that you're making. It's not moving. Statues, okay, it's not moving. You're creating it from literally just like pure plain surface versus a face. There's so much that goes on. There's so much that goes on with that, you know? So that was the ignorance leaving out of me because I now had that knowledge. I now had that not necessarily like education, like beauticians and stuff like that, but like I've had education from different women in the industry that do inform me about what it takes to do those things. So that's a small like example of because I feel like the major thing was how I talked about like Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. A lot of people, you hear ignorance, you think of something like so major like that, but ignorance being the example of most guys saying like, oh, why do you use makeup? Like, I don't like your natural beauty, yada yada. That's ignorant as well because there's something that you don't know about that you're now verbalizing and you're putting it out there, and then that in turn is what spreads ignorance. Because in today's world, in today's society, like I said in the beginning, before all of this, before the hierarchy stuff, all of that, is the social media and the internet. It spreads like wildfire, and it's like there's never going to be I don't think there ever is going to be an end to it. And it's not because I don't believe that that humanity can, limit the amount of ignorance in the world, or we can limit our use of the internet or social media technology, because we know that that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But it's just, it's individual people taking upon themselves to understand you don't know everything. You don't know everything. And it's okay. It's literally okay to just not know a subject and not know a topic and just not comment about it, not say anything about it. Does everyone need to know every single detail about every single thing in the world? No. Well, how would ignorance ever go away? If ignorance is the lack of knowledge and lack of education, that means that everyone needs to learn about every single thing, right, Cameron? No. No. Do you think that monks know everything? No. But one thing that they do is they kind of sort of they shut out the outside world though, for a reason. For a reason. I can't wait to be able to that's one of my, I don't even say like bucket list, because it's something that I truly, truly would love to do in terms of I would want to go there multiple times. Not just like, oh, I went to like the temples where the monks are, and it was an amazing experience. It was like so real, like spiritually, yada yada. No, it would be something I would very much want to do, you know, often enough. But those people are, from what we know and what we understand, they are some of the most genuine, in tune, natural people you'll ever meet. Can everyone be in that lifestyle? Definitely not. But as human beings, as beings in general, you know, they seem perfectly content with life itself. And think about how many people who have all the money in the world, and people who have access to so much, and they're still not happy. People people who put themselves in situations to garner all this attention and have all this fame, like, still aren't happy. You know, no one needs to be able to understand how everything works and how everyone works, and they don't need to understand every single subject in the world to a T. No. But I think the idea of just, being a better individual is just understanding that, we don't know every single thing. And there are going to be times that we encounter subjects or situations, conversations where we don't know stuff. And it's okay to just be silent. It's okay to just say, like, oh, I don't really know much about it, so I really don't have an opinion per se, Like, I think part of growth is ignorance, because I think ignorance teaches you humility. I think it teaches you just how it teaches you how different we are, but that's only because you're allowing that to happen. You're allowing the space to further itself, because you're technically cutting yourself off from understanding something or someone. You know what I mean? Like, there's never going to be, I don't think for sure, there's never been a situation that I've been in where, when I think back to, like, reverting to who I am now, I don't think there's ever been a situation where I felt like so strongly about a topic or something, and I didn't allow myself to gain more knowledge or education on a subject or a person or a event, a movement, whatever the case is. And still to this day, I'm just like, nah, like that, it just doesn't make sense. Nah, F that. Like, nah, I still believe it this way, or no, this is the right way. I just don't understand why people just don't do it like this. Like, it could be so much better if people just did, like, there's nothing, because I don't understand everybody, and I'm not some holistic, all-knowing person. Like, I still have my days. Trust me. There are days where a little bit of road rage comes into me. There are days where I get a little frustrated at restaurants, because I've been in the service industry, and I'm just like, dude, I understand what goes on, but, like, I feel the energy though that I'm getting, which is, you're not a good service industry worker, regardless of what's going on. I knew lazy and poor service people, but then I also knew, like, I was really good. But then we had times where stuff was just really busy. You know what I mean? And, like, I thinned myself out to, get to every single, person, to make sure they understood that I was there for them, even though everything was just, going wild and crazy. So, so trust me, I'm not like the perfect person. I still have my moments. I still have my times, but I don't allow I don't allow ignorance to come into my life nearly as much as I did, younger. I overall overall would it benefit humanity if people, like, read more? Yes. Would it benefit humanity for us to put down our phones? Yes. Would it benefit us? I mean, I can say, definitely the one thing that has probably helped me minimize the amount of ignorance that I have taken in on a, you know, a yearly basis throughout my years on this earth is the one thing that I start in this podcast off with all the time, which is music. Music to me has been crucially a huge reason why I've been able to put so much of my own ignorance aside and gain knowledge. And that's one thing, like I said, like the definition of ignorance is lack of knowledge or education. Like, and it's knowledge or education. You don't need both of them. Hey, look, this is me. This is just Cameron speaking. I'm no one important, but I'm a person that truly feels like education definitely is important. It's very important, but a lot of people would do with just the knowledge. A lot of people, just because education within itself is, it's a topic that we could talk about another day, but it's something that also isn't regulated by the people. You know what I mean? And I'm not being that person. I'm sure it's people that's like, what are you talking about? You sound like one of those people. The government isn't behind. Like, let's be honest now. The shit that is in some of the books, and we're not talking about math. We're not talking about even English. There's a lot of educational pieces out there that stuff is. There's only a certain thing that can be taught to kids and to children and to teenagers and adults beyond that. A lot of the stuff in the libraries, when you go and start to find out certain things and you read about certain things yourself, you're like, why was I never taught this? Or I was taught this, but why weren't we taught from this person's perspective of how things went? You really start when you really go and start educating yourself, you really start to see that the education system kind of failed us very badly. I'm just saying. But away from the point. Knowledge. You gain so much knowledge from music just because, dude, there's different people of different sectors of the world, and when the way they tell stories, it's almost like I feel, dude, I can listen to Wayne, I can listen to J. Cole, I can listen to JID, I can listen to Dirk, I can listen to Baby, I can listen to Broke Boy, then I can listen to Banks, I can listen to NF, I can listen to Taylor Swift, I can listen to Kali Uchis, I can listen to Romeo Santos. I can listen to Jesse Reyes. I can listen to Fora. And, I can feel their stories. Every single one. Carla Morrison, who is a Spanish artist, and she's been around for a while. And my girlfriend, Jenny, she introduced me to Carla, and we ended up going to see her in concert last summer. God, we went to a lot of concerts last year. We went to go see her in concert. It was a free concert in Chicago in Millennium Park, and man, it was. I don't know Spanish like all the way, here and there are some words, but I knew her music and I knew her songs because Jenny would play them a lot, and then they ended up on my phone. And I listen to a lot of Spanish music too. But when she was performing, I felt it. I felt the story. I felt the emotions. I felt the pain. I felt the agony. I felt the love. I felt the happiness. I felt the excitement. I felt the joy. I felt everything. Words don't matter when it comes to music. Music to me is the one thing that brings us all together. And I think I'll probably end up doing an episode on just music alone. But for me, that is how I've gained so much knowledge, just because of hearing people's stories and listening to people's stories. You realize that, first off, you realize that these beings or these figures that we look at as like almighty or high, they're human beings, and they've went through or are going through stuff that we deal with on a regular basis. And I feel like, for me, like I said, I listen to so much different music, so many different people. And that's what's taken away a lot of ignorance from me, just because I learned so much about other cultures or just other people, other regions of the world, the United States, whatever the case is. And I understand how some people were raised, or how certain individuals or certain communities are raised, and why they think the certain way they do, or why they do the things that they do. And then coming into conversations or meeting certain people from those communities, from those cities, from those states, there's still a little judgment. We all judge people. But I now understand. I don't think I have that ignorance. I very much think before I speak. A tool that so many people do not do in this world, because people want their opinions to be known. Some people just want to talk. Hey, Cameron, you're doing a podcast though, and it's your opinion. So aren't you just wanting to talk? Yeah, but the thing is, you can choose to listen to this or not. That's really the end of it. You can choose to turn this off. But there are people out there that there is a room of, it can be a room of 6 people. There could be a room of 20 people. And they just choose to intervene or interject their opinions onto the whole room, even if it's the wrong opinion, or even if it's something that they should just keep to themselves, because they just feel like, this is what I believe in, and I don't like. And I'm also not that person. That's where ignorance really, really takes. That's where ignorance festers. When it's and I know that that's a reason that a lot of people don't nowadays. I think we see it more and more, but while a lot of people don't like going to family functions, because you always have that one person, 2 people, whatever, that get into it, argue. But nowadays, I think we live in an age where there are going to be those people that, you have the older generation and you have the younger generation. And then you have us millennials who are just in the middle. Lord have mercy. It's been a hell of for millennials, it's been like a hella 30, 40 years for us. But you have people that just speak too much of their mind. There's one thing about speaking your mind, but then there's a thing where it almost is ignorant, just because it's like, I need you to shut up. I need you to shut up because no one enjoys this. I need you to shut up because you're creating a hostile environment. And not hostile like people want to fight. You're creating an environment where no one wants to be around. And I think what people, especially like older generation, like type of thinking, because we know the way that they think. But people don't realize, and this is just in a family sense, people don't realize that that's exactly how you break up a family. That's how you get the younger generation not wanting to come back around, because that's actually how it starts. You can be 60, 50 years old speaking how you speak, because it's you. You've been like this the whole time. Yeah. 70 years old. Yeah. But you realize once you start doing it to the younger generation, because the younger generation is so open. It's not that they're sensitive. It's just that the younger generation is just like how older people are just like, they no longer have time for bullshit. The younger generation has no time for bullshit now. That's what I've been coming to learn. It's not that they're sensitive. Some of them are. Let me be honest. Some of them are too sensitive. But it's just the idea that they're just like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to listen to this. Like the same way that older people are. It's just the younger people are there now quicker because of the knowledge and the accessibility that they have now. But once you start doing that, to the younger generation, they're like, all right, cool, bye. Like, and then when it's another Thanksgiving, another Christmas, another Fourth, it's just like, man, like, where is this person? Or like, why aren't we talking about getting together? Or why don't people come around? Well, because no one wants to hear what this person always has to say. So guess what? I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna just chill with friends now versus family. You know, because friends are the family you pick, and most of the time you're gonna pick people who are very similar in your way of thinking or how you act or the progression that you're making in your career, like those people, like, so at the end of the day, like, ignorance is ignorance is just, it's not that it's a bad thing, because it lives in everyone, because not everyone is knowledgeable or educated in every single thing. But once you start to speak on that, once you start to fester on whatever it is that you're ignorant about, that's when it then becomes detrimental, and then that's when it then starts to hurt humanity. And I know people who look at humanity and they feel a certain way about like how the world's changed, and like, this person, these people, like, this is stupid, or these laws are dumb. I don't understand why this group gets this. I don't understand this person, that person. I hate this president. I hate this president. Oh my God, it was better with this president before this president, yada, yada, yada. But they don't realize that they think just because they say stuff in their own household or close circle, that that's not affecting humanity. Look, when you put something out there, you're automatically already, that's the energy you're already putting out there. I think I think it's hard for people to actually understand that you don't need to be on social media to spread hate or ignorance. You can do it in a room of two people. Not saying that one person is going to go back and talk about you, but they might, because they don't want to be around you. Or even if they don't put it out there. Because I've been in a room with just one other individual, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe you feel this way, you think this way, and hey, that's cool. That's good for you. That's good for you. But I'm not gonna hit you back up to chill, to hang out. I'm not gonna waste energy your way. And realistically, I know that that's probably the wrong thing to do, because I'm not having a conversation with this person of like, hey, to be honest, because I'm sure they do it then with the next person they hang out with, or the next group of people they hang out with. And then they're always probably thinking like people are just too sensitive around them, or like, people always feel some type of way. Like, I don't get it. And it's like, it ain't that people are too sensitive, or it's not that it's the people. You got to look at the common denominator now. And it's not asking yourself to change. Like, people don't need to change for people or be a certain way around people. No, but it's simply understanding you don't have a certain knowledge or education about a topic, a subject, an individual, a community, whatever the case is, and you shouldn't be festering on that. You shouldn't be feeding on that ignorance and putting out all of these opinions and ideologies out there, because you don't get it, because you don't understand why someone is the way that they are, why someone does something, why the thought process is there. One last thing that I kind of want to, and I don't like talking about stuff like this, because I really hate politics, because politics divide us, you know. But that also will be a topic for another day. I really can't stand, just because we know the day and age we've been living in, it's been Trump and Biden, and man, oh God, I can't stand when people talk so much about why Biden has did A, B, C, and D, and then how Trump did A, B, C, and D, and things may have been a little bit better. I'm always like, okay, first off, when people start talking politics around me, I'm just like, dude, if I have a hat on, I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just like putting my hat down and I'm trying not to make eye contact because I need these people or this person to understand like everything you're about to say is about to divide the effing room. You don't even understand. And now there's no way I'm going to continue to eat my mac and cheese. Actually, you know what? I am going to eat my mac and cheese, but that's all I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to play. But you know what I mean? Like, you make it so much harder for that tension to now be relieved. I think one of the most ignorant things when it comes to like, at least just this topic is thinking that you completely even understand what the hell is going on in the political realm. People that think that they understand every single damn thing in in politics is beyond me. I don't have nowhere near that knowledge or education. And guess what? Honestly, this may sound ignorant of me. I'm not even finna seek it. I'm not finna seek it because I feel like the deeper you get into that, it's a deeper hole you find yourself in. For me to just say this, I don't further seek knowledge or education in things that actually create division amongst people. There's no need for me to research and try to understand the political realm and political aspect of American politics because at the end of the day, it is you're on one side and then other people on another side. I just want us to be I want us to be together. I want us to be together as human beings. So I don't seek that knowledge and education just because then it's gonna come to a point where it's like, oh, I understand how this side views things, and I see why this other side doesn't view it as that important, or I see why they view it a whole different realm. Like, no, 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 no. I want us to be together. I don't want us to be Republican and Democratic. Nah, I want us to be together. But the people that just think that they completely understand how Congress and how Washington works is beyond me. If I don't see honestly, there's nothing that you can show me. There's not even a degree that you can show me. But I hope that I hope as time goes on, which I don't really know. No one knows, right? But I just hope as time goes on, we people would understand that they don't know everything, and that the like I said in the beginning, that ignorance is like the worst disease that human beings have ever created, and it's like there will never actually be a cure for it because it's everywhere. It's everywhere now, and with the internet being the way that it is, ignorance is. It's, you say one thing, you put one rumor, or one rumor is put out there, and it becomes the most ignorant thing, and now people think that that is their education. People now think that that is the knowledge. People now assume that what they read on the internet from anywhere, and we're not even going to say anywhere, but literally from people will take what they see on Twitter, and I'm going to always call it Twitter. I'm sorry, Elon. I don't know what power move that was and trying to rename that, but people will take what they see on Twitter, what they see on Instagram, what they see on Facebook, and package that as factual information and try to use that in logical arguments against you, which is beyond me. Dude, where did you see that at? Oh, I saw it on Twitter. It was like this article that, oh, okay, we're done. You can stop now. But I truly do hope that people just start to see how ignorant we are and why we're that ignorant, and it would just benefit us from just, sitting down with somebody, actually getting the time to understand them, or open up more books and researching more, and just understanding who we are as humans, where we've been at. Because once you start reading more about where we've come from, you see how ignorant we are, but then you start to realize that we haven't really evolved. We truly haven't evolved. Yeah, we have more technology, but with more technology, it just means that the ignorance is just gotten from, one ear to another ear just quicker. So I guess we'll see. But we've reached the conclusion of episode 3 though. And you know what I always do? I have to shout out the last song I'm listening to, which is, it actually is about to go off right now. But it's fair though, because it actually is it's one of my favorite Drake songs. It's Do Not Disturb. And it's comforting. I think it's going to be very interesting in what the universe does throughout this journey of this podcast, of how I shout out the last song. And I purposefully picked that to be a part of the podcast, just because I think whatever it is you believe in, higher power, universe, whatever it is, I purposely thought that it would be interesting for me to like end the podcast and see what song I'm listening to. And I think this Do Not Disturb, it kind of sums up what I was saying. You'd have to like listen to the song. It's not necessarily like do not disturb me, don't bother me. It's not like a literal sense of do not disturb, but I think as human beings, we have to just kind of take it more into ourselves. To, if we don't understand something, like we need to sit back. We need to sit back and just let the conversation happen, or we need to let things that we can't impact happen. There's all this stuff when it comes to like politics and stuff, which is literally just creating division between us. If you're not, if you're not educated in it, if you don't have the knowledge in it, if you don't have the degrees in it, just stop. Let them fight. Let them bash each other in. Let them air out their dirty secrets, just so that they can, win a race. Like, let's just we don't need to disturb none of that. Let's just, let's just continue to try to get closer to each other, and try to understand, who we are as human beings. And, just wishing that the world will get better. I kind of want to say like, and the world will get better, but I don't, it's kind of hard to say that the world will get better, but maybe, hopefully. So once again though, I'd like to thank anyone who is listening to it, who's gotten this far into listening, who's gotten this far into watching it. I'm always very appreciative. And like I always say, though, just make sure that you are out there cultivating and creating a better world for us to live in each and every day. And I will see all of you in the next episode of Cam's Korner Podcast. Peace, people.